In this video I'm going to talk about adding a news item to your group, but also because this is the first explanation of adding items, I'll also talk a little bit more about, in general, adding content to the site and some of the concepts that are common to all content types. So let's first get to our group. So I'm assuming we're at our group and also we're already logged in with admin access and the rights to add content to the group. Now, I talked previously about making sure that you understand the context of where you are. So at the moment I'm on the test move ball group that we were playing with, and I can also take a quick peek at the contents view if I particularly want to, so that I can see the contents that are already inside my group. And from either the contents view or the actual site view itself, I can go to the Add New button, where I can see a list of all of the content types that I can add. In this particular case, I want to add a news item. I'll also point out that there is a set of special links for the most commonly added content types here in the navigation menu. If your group has no news items, events, or projects or case studies, then these items will not show up for the public. But if you are logged in and you have the rights to add these content items, then they will show up, and the special shortcut link will show up for you too. So clicking on this button is identical to clicking on the Add New news item as well. So I'll click on that now, and this will bring up the form for creating a news item. Now, there are a couple of pieces of input here that are common to all content types. So first of all, a title. Everything in the system requires a title, and generally I suggest that one, you think about the title carefully, but two, the title is also used to create the URL that is displayed. So choosing this is relatively important. So you also then need to provide a summary. This is not mandatory, but it is strongly advised that you always provide a summary. The summary will actually display on the listings of news items when searches are completed, and that's the same for all content types. This is what people will see when they first see a link to your news item. So it's your opportunity to tell them a little bit about what they're going to see and what they're going to read. Then the next field is the main body text. This is common to many of the content types. This is a rich editor that allows you to modify the format of the content. I'll grab a paragraph of content just to save time here. And again, I won't go into a lot of detail about the editing, but generally you can modify the look and feel of the text quite easily. You can provide hyperlinks to external websites or email or files that you want to upload. If I want to link to an external site, I can type in its URL, and that will create a link for me. And I can also upload images. So I can click on the link, I can look for images that are already uploaded into my area. At the moment I don't have any, or I can upload a new image or even link to an external image if I know its URL. Then moving down the page, a news item offers what's called a lead image, and several of the other content types also do this. I know that events do this, and also projects. A lead image is an image that is displayed on the page with the text, and also if you are listing the news items on the site, the lead image will also be used as a background for the tile that displays the link to the news item. Also, you should give your images a caption, because that also helps with screen readers and accessibility. So that covers the main properties of a news item. There are also some additional properties. Categorization is where you add keywords or tags. So this is an excellent way to help searching. So I'd recommend that you take a look through the list that's here, and if there are a few keywords that make sense for your particular news item, then definitely add them in. The next section is dates. Now, 90% of the time you simply don't need to worry about these, but this does give you an option to change the publishing date of the item. So you might want to effectively set the date in the past if the news item was technically from a previous day, or you could set this to a future date, in which case it will actually embargo the content and not display it until that day. The expiration date is a way of hiding the content after a particular date. I would advise that you almost never use this because of the way the system works. There is no problem having content visible long after it was relevant or new. And in fact, the longer the content's there, the more it helps with search engines. The only type of example I can think of where you might want to expire content is perhaps something like a job listing, a vacancy that ultimately isn't relevant after a period of time. There are also two final tabs, ownership, which is not particularly important, but you can actually add contributors to keep records on the content if you want, and you can also set a few extra settings. Now, these are interesting here. From the bottom up, exclude from navigation is a special setting that allows you to make a piece of content not show up in the navigation menus. That does not mean that it is not accessible. It is still possible to get to it. It does not hide it from the public at all, but it does remove it from the navigation menus. I can't see any practical reason to use this on a news item, but you may want to use it on a folder if you want to create a folder perhaps in which you want to upload some files, and you don't necessarily want the folder to show up in the navigation menu. It would clutter the menu, but you do want it actually to be accessible from people to be able to download files. The short name actually relates to the URL of the object. In all cases, the short name will be generated from the title. The system will convert your title to all lowercase letters and add dashes between the words and use that as the URL, but you can override that if you particularly want to. And allowing discussion is a special feature that allows logged in members to actually add comments to a piece of information in the site. Again, it's probably not relevant to a news item and not something you want to do, but there are potentially other cases where you might want to do this. You may want to upload a file and then have your members discuss that file, or you might put up a page of content and want to allow discussion for that content. So those are some special settings that are worth considering. Once you've set all of your properties on those items, click Save at the bottom, and this will save the content, and in this particular case also upload the image. So now I've got my news item, I've got the title, the summary, the content that I typed in, my lead image, and the keywords that it's displayed under. Now there's one other very important step to consider. Right now my content is private, it is not visible to the public, and I can tell that from this link over here on the left. It's red and it says the state is private. So at this point I have to remember to make a decision what I want to do. If I'm not ready, I can come back and edit it in the future, but if I'm ready to publish this, I can click on the link and I can either publish it to the group or I can publish it to the world. So if I publish it to the group, then only other members of the group who are logged in will be able to see this content. In this case, because it's a news item, I'd like it to be published to everybody. So I'll click Publish, and that will now publish my content to the world, and the state changes to published and blue. Now, one other important option here is these sharing links. These are set up so that anybody can share this content on social networks, but it's something very useful that you can use yourself. So by clicking on these links, these will automatically open up a share window, assuming that you're already logged in to that social network. In my particular case, it's about to share this content on my personal timeline. be careful if you manage a group page, you might actually want to share the content on the group page. So you might then decide to switch to a group page. And so I can change who I'm sharing the content as. And this is a place where I can type in some additional notes. The system will automatically pick up your lead image, the title and description, and provide a link back. So if I were to click this now, then this would be shared on our MooBall page as a link back to the gateway. So this is an excellent way to share your information with literally just a click or two out onto your social networks. You can also do this in the form of a tweet, and also, of course, Google Plus and LinkedIn as well, if you have those accounts. But they're not limited to you. Anybody who views this content can share it, and we'd certainly encourage you to let people know that they can do that. So, that's pretty much some general information about uploading content, in particular a news item. A couple of things that I would just reiterate. Don't forget to use the tags for categorizing the content. That's very, very useful. When it comes to uploading images, generally you don't need an image any wider than about 1600 pixels. Most digital cameras will actually take photos up to around 3, 4, 5,000 pixels wide, so they're more than adequate, and it's probably best if you can downsize them to save storage. And in particular, make sure that your image format is one of the web-safe formats. So that would be a JPEG, PNG or GIF. Certainly don't be uploading TIFFs, PSDs or even PDFs. That won't work. And of course, don't forget to publish. One of the biggest mistakes people often do is they enter their content, it looks fine while they're logged in, and they browse away and forget that they haven't published it to the world. So I hope that helps. Thank you.